What's good, guys? This is Captain Awesome, and today we are covering the metal story that is Hellverine. So just to lay some groundwork, Hellverine is a character which was formed when Wolverine bonded with a demon known as BAGRA-GHUL. BAGRA-GHUL was a demon that had possessed the young boy and used his body as a vessel to kill innocents and stitch them into horrific works of art. But luckily, Wolverine and Ghost Rider defeated BAGRA-GHUL, but not before BAGRA-GHUL transformed him into, the Hellverine. Wolverine, however, was able to reject the demon and lock it away. But it seems the demon's time with Wolverine changed it and made it seek out foes more like Wolverine in the way that they behaved. Fast forward, we get the demon possessing AKIHIRO or Daken, the son of Wolverine, and bringing him back to life after he's killed by Sabretooth. And now, together as the Hellverine, they defeat his sinners and all that good stuff. But anyways, let's get into the story now. We get some narration for Daken, who is down in the dumps. He seems not to be getting sleep and waking up every night as the Hellverine, kind of similar to what Johnny Blaze initially went through when he became the Ghost Rider. But he gives us some narration. My life, if you can call it that, is now a maze of county highways and back alleys. Every day, I put as many miles as I can behind me, and every night, I try to sneak in a few hours of sleep. But the nightmares always catch up with me, and they burn. I have to keep moving, because I don't belong anywhere. I don't know who or what I am. If a child soaks up the nutrients of their mother when in the womb, then I tasted fear and death from the beginning. Romulus killed my mother when she was pregnant with me. I was raised by another family, but in the village, they called me Daken, which means bastard or mongrel. I killed one of my tormentors, just as I killed my adoptive mother, who despised me and her child. For a long time, that moment defined me. I then embraced the name Daken because I felt I deserved it. And if I did not deserve love, then I would specialize in hate and pain. My father by blood is Wolverine. I blamed him for everything that happened to me, for what I had become. I hunted him for years. I hunted him to death. So I've always had what I guess you could call demons. But now, it's literally true. I've developed a kind of infernal sense. I can feel evil. As we see Daken walk into a store and kind of read the thoughts of this man who seems to be a killer, the narration there continues, and a demon inside me delights in it. We then see the killer who Daken is reading the mind of, but before he is able to act on them and do anything, Daken stops him. It kind of does this thing which Ghost Rider does, where he tells you the sins you've committed before he penance tears your ass into the shadow realm or hell. So he tells him, 7 people, that's how many you've murdered. You buried some in shallow graves. You hid others in the woods. You cut up one and put them in a trash can. But you can't hide them from me. As he transforms into the Hellverine, and the rest is history. We don't really get to see what he does to him, but we all know he probably murdered him. He's sent into the afterlife. So we get more narration. BAGRA-GHUL doesn't have a voice. Its presence is instead more of a sick, poisoned feeling I live with. Like my heart is full of boiling pus, and cobwebs are holding together my joints. And then, when evil is near, like this semi trailer full of kidnapping victims, the demon inside me flames to life and takes me over, and I become his passenger. So it seems he doesn't have full control over this transformation, kind of similar to Ghost Rider. I don't really want to keep bringing up Ghost Rider, but he's moving if he was the Ghost Rider. And he continues, I'm alive, but I'm dead. I exist in this state of in-betweenness, because BAGRA-GHUL chose me as its host. For eons, it served Mephisto as a punishing artist, building monuments that celebrated suffering. Then it was summoned to the world above and grafted first onto a boy named Bram, and later Wolverine. Something happened then. The killing continued, but my father's will and strength somehow sculpted the sculptor. Logan's attempts to focus his own beastly tendencies toward altruistic ends gave the demon a new goal. Evil became more than its muse, but also its target. So when BAGRA-GHUL was exorcised from my father, it chose a new body that felt familiar. Me. My carcass torn apart by Sabretooth was stitched back together into a punishing instrument for the demon, or what remained of me, and I became the Hellverine. And I have to admit, that is a sick double spread panel showing the events that led up to him becoming this Hellverine. So fast forward, we move to North Carolina, and Daken continues. I left behind my father, who wanted to help me, and I left behind Project Hellfire, which wanted to recruit me. So for those of you who don't know, Project Hellfire was basically the group that was trying to weaponize this demon BAGRA-GHUL, and they are the ones who placed this BAGRA-GHUL into its first initial host, this guy called Bram, which we spoke about, before they tried to do the same and place it in Wolverine. But anyways, we continue. And because I needed to answer some questions on my own, Like, what's this so-called life of mine going to look like going forward? And am I as evil as what I punish? Should I exist at all? As you see Daken sitting down contemplating what comes next for him, we see him be approached by a woman from the lake. Before he can ask her what's wrong, she runs off and Daken follows, leading him to an isolated cabin which I'm not too sure anything good comes of. This is literally like those horror stories. You don't go towards the cabin. Run away, Daken, run away. Before you see him moving towards any cabin in the next page, the woman drowns and he jumps in to save her. And we see all these corpses laying in the water. Corpses obviously of a serial killer, one of who Daken is likely to punish. He says, "She wanted me to find her. She wanted him to find them all," as these corpses of these dead people scream for help. So Daken continues, "I'm starting to realize something. I've been on the run because I'm scared of what's inside of me, scared of what I might do. But every time the demon draws towards evil, like a hot compass, every time a Wolverine takes over, I feel relieved of some pressure that's been boiling inside me." As you see him transformed into the Wolverine and approaching this cabin now. It's like BAGRA-GHUL needs an outlet, and repressing the demon makes things worse. Its lust or hunger, or whatever you want to call it, needs to be satisfied. And this man, who's obviously the guy who killed all these victims, has his beer heat up and just falls out of his hand as Daken bursts into the cabin. Now, we don't get to see him make this guy as well, but we know for sure he did, as we fast forward and see the cabin burning in the next page. This whole chapter seems to be more of Daken kind of telling the story, but let's continue. "I couldn't leave the children in the lake. They deserved a proper burial. And maybe I found it strangely cathartic to help them, as if I was reaching out to some younger, broken version of myself. I had done a lot of questionable stuff when I was a kid. Maybe I could make a good bit of difference, in my own terrible way." And we see this man who killed all these kids and people sentenced to, I'm not really sure what's happening, but it's definitely not good. So he leaves that place, moving on as he always does. The dead kids, what they asked of me, what I did for them. I feel as haunted and as sick as I do. Hopeful, they need my help because they felt unsettled, pained and tormented, floating in that liminal space between life and death. I could take a lesson from them. Maybe I could find a kind of peace if I asked for help. Magic and occultism have never been my problem. Now, my life is one big haunted highway. I've heard a lot about this guy, but I never thought I'd find myself at the front door of the Sanctum Sanctorum. Now, I know Hellverine is a supernatural story, but I never thought I'd see Daken pop out of the home of Doctor Strange of all people. This is awesome, to be honest. So Daken says, "Before I can even raise my hand to knock, the door opens, revealing Doctor Strange. He looks like he hasn't showered in weeks, but I imagine the feeling is mutual. Strange, being the snacky guy as always, tells Daken to buzz up in this very funny way, to be honest. I'm not exactly open for business right now, but you're rather fascinating. You are inhabited by an infernal force, a very old and powerful one from the looks of it." And Daken asks if Strange can help. Strange tells him, "I honestly don't know. I'm not Sorcerer Supreme anymore, but my curiosity is piqued, so please do come in. Though the place is a bit of a mess, and so, I suppose, am I. Just know that, should you attempt anything untoward, I'll destroy you without hesitation." Kind of flexed on him, although he's not Sorcerer Supreme. And I dig it, I dig Strange still being this confident guy, although he's no longer Sorcerer Supreme. Strange goes on to tell him, "The demon is parasitic, but I'm rather confused by his choice of you as a host. It's clear what you are getting out of this situation, live animation. But, at a glance, it could certainly do better than you. No offense, of course." Kind of straight dissing Daken, and Daken tells him, "I'd hardly call life. I mean, Daken is the Wolverine light. Everyone knows that. 2 claws, weaker regeneration factor, more of a sobby emo boy than even Wolverine obsessing over Jean Grey era. You have to be honest, he is Wolverine light." Strange goes on to tell him, "You say that you don't merely kill, but you build, you sculpt, you make art out of horror. Lament configurations take many forms and have many purposes. They are not merely random doodles. It would be helpful if I could study one of them. Can you direct me to one of these monuments?" And Daken is like, "Strange, maybe you're not recognizing how wrecked I am right now. I barely knew my own name a few weeks ago. If you want a pin on a map, I can't help you." And Strange is like, "Well, perhaps you could build another." That's kind of a messed up thing to say to someone. And rightfully so, Daken is pissed as he knocks the book out of Strange's hand. "You're asking me to go kill someone, to satisfy your scholarly interests." And Strange is like, "Well, I didn't mean it." Before Daken interrupts again, saying, "You want to know what's happening with me? Forget the books," as he reaches out to Strange's head. "He wants me to form a telepathic link. I don't know if it's wise too. And Daken just says, "Look, damn," as he sings Strange Vision with his own. And Daken's narration kicks in again. "I took him to the convenience store where I had interrupted the robbery. I took him to the road where I discovered a trackers with a trailer full of trafficking victims. And then I took him deeper. And Strange is overloaded with all the terrible stuff this demon has done, and he knocks Daken away, telling him not to touch him ever again. And Daken is like, "I hear you. Now do you understand me when I say help? Help me. What did you learn?" Strange tells Daken, "What if I were to tell you that you were wrong about the demon turning over a new leaf after bonding with Logan? What if I were to tell you that BAGRA-GHUL very much remains a citizen of hell and a servant of Mephisto? No, that's not right. That can't be right." Daken says, "The people I've killed, they are evil." Strange response, "Well, if you want to grow a garden, you make sure the soil is rich with the right nutrients. And evil is a slippery word, one that's usually rooted in pain, fear and hate. Qualities you specialize in Daken." And Daken is just like, "What are you saying?" So Strange tells him, "I believe Mephisto has a plan for you and BAGRA-GHUL both, one that's already in motion. And if you don't put a stop to it, then that suspicion you live with, the feeling that's plagued you your entire life, that you don't belong here, that you shouldn't exist at all, I'll make sure it comes true." As Strange opens a portal for Daken, who has transformed into the Hellverine once again, to go through. Strange then continues to tell him, "The first step of your journey is the North Pole, where the demon first summoned you from your grave, where Hellverine was born, and where something foul has now taken root." And unfortunately folks, that's where our issue ends. What do you think of this issue? I don't really know what to say. It's definitely interesting. I like the idea of Daken being this Hellverine, because obviously Wolverine can't do that stuff. Wolverine always has to return to the status quo, and they will honestly be overdoing it if he spends more time as this Hellverine. I think Daken is a good choice because he also didn't have much to do being a second Wolverine on the X-Men roster. But anyways, as always, this has been Captain Awesome. What did you think of this issue? Was it good? Was it bad? Whatever you think it is, just let me know in the comments. I'd like to hear what you think about it. As always guys, do all the good stuff for me. Like, share, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Until next time, stay awesome.